Imagine this. The eerie glow of mall lights flickering in the dead of night, casting long, sinister shadows across the deserted corridors. This was the backdrop for my nightly grind at a 24/7 general store tucked away in the heart of a South Carolina mall. While the rest of the world slept, I battled the darkness, grappling with the unknown as the witching hour approached. Our store, a small island of commerce amidst the sea of silence, boasted two entrances. One from within the mall itself, and another, more ominous, at the back. A gateway to the unknown, unlocked only after the mall's official closing time at 9:30 p.m. It was my duty to secure this gate, to ward off whatever horrors lurked beyond its cold metal bars. Most nights passed uneventfully, the monotony broken only by the occasional customer in search of late-night essentials. But then, there was that one fateful night, a night that would haunt me for years to come. It started innocuously enough, with the usual routine of stocking shelves and tidying up the aisles. But as the clock struck midnight, a sense of unease began to settle over me, like a thick fog descending upon the mall. It began with a faint rattle, a whisper of movement from beyond the gate, separating our store from the mall's darkened corridors. Peering through the metal bars, I caught sight of a figure. A man, his features obscured by the dim light, his gaze fixed upwards as if entranced by some unseen force. At first, I dismissed him as a lost soul, a wanderer in search of solace amidst the empty aisles. But as I drew closer, my heart froze in my chest. There was something unsettling about him, something not quite right. With a trembling voice, I called out to him, my words lost in the silence of the night. But he remained unmoved, his eyes fixed on some invisible specter dancing just beyond my grasp. Panic began to set in as I realized I was alone, isolated in the darkness with this strange and sinister figure. I fumbled for my phone, desperate to call for help, but my fingers shook too violently to dial. In a moment of sheer terror, I turned and fled, seeking refuge behind the safety of the counter. But even there, I could feel his gaze burning into my soul, his presence a dark shadow looming over me. Hours passed in agonizing silence, each minute stretching into eternity as I waited, trapped in the grip of fear. And then, just when I thought I couldn't bear it any longer, he returned, his smile a grotesque parody of humanity, his eyes gleaming with malice. With trembling hands, I reached for the phone, my voice barely a whisper as I pleaded for help. But he remained unmoved, his gaze fixed on me with a chilling intensity that sent shivers down my spine. It was only when he vanished into the night, leaving behind nothing but a haunting memory and a trail of unanswered questions, that I dared to breathe again. But the terror of that night would linger long after he was gone, a dark stain on my soul that could never be erased. As I watched the security footage with my manager, the truth of what had transpired sank in. I had come face to face with something beyond comprehension, something that defied explanation. And though I may have left that job behind, the memory of that night still haunts me, a reminder of the darkness that lurks just beyond the edge of our reality, waiting to claim us all.
As I reminisce about my teenage years, there's a memory that stands out vividly. A pivotal moment that shaped my early adulthood, my first job at Walmart. At the tender age of 16, fueled by a desire for financial independence, I eagerly stepped into the workforce. The proximity of the store to my parents' house, a mere 10-minute drive, made it an ideal fit for my after-school commitments. Balancing the demands of work with high school classes proved to be a challenging feat. Without a car of my own, I often relied on my parents for transportation. Nevertheless, I was driven by a singular goal: to save enough from my Walmart paycheck to purchase my own set of wheels. One evening, amidst the routine of my cashier shift from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m., an unexpected occurrence disrupted the tranquility of the store. With fewer customers than usual, my manager surprised me with the rare treat of an early departure at 8:45 p.m. Filled with excitement at the prospect of heading home ahead of schedule, I hurried to the employee-only area to clock out and notify my mom of my unexpected freedom via text. As I settled onto a bench near the entrance, reveling in the peacefulness of the evening, my attention was drawn to the familiar surroundings, the quietude of the parking lot, punctuated by the occasional passerby. Lost in the glow of my phone screen, I barely registered the presence of a large, older SUV circling the parking lot. It made several passes by the entrance doors before slowing to a crawl, marking the beginning of an unsettling turn of events. The passenger side window descended, revealing the silhouette of a man who offered me a ride, insisting he could take me wherever I needed to go. Taken aback by the unexpected offer, I politely declined, though a sense of confusion lingered. Undeterred, the man persisted, urging me to reconsider, but I remained steadfast, trusting my instincts. To my dismay, the situation escalated when the man exited the driver's side and began to approach me. Panic seized me, and without hesitation, I fled towards the safety of Walmart's entrance, my heart racing with fear until I reached the sanctuary of the building. Breathless and shaken, I awaited my mom's text, signaling her arrival in the parking lot to pick me up. Waste no time, I recounted the harrowing encounter, and together we scanned the area for any signs of the suspicious SUV. Our fears confirmed. We spotted it nearby, engine still running. Grateful to have made it home without further incident, the unsettling encounter lingered in my thoughts. Upon returning to work, I promptly reported the incident to my boss, relieved that I never crossed paths with the man again during my tenure at Walmart. Reflecting on the experience, it serves as a chilling reminder of the importance of vigilance and trusting one's instincts, particularly in unfamiliar or potentially perilous situations. It's a lesson that has left an indelible mark on me, influencing how I navigate similar encounters in the future.
In the shadowy depths of the retail labyrinth known as Walmart, I toiled away my nights, a humble shelf stalker in a realm where darkness held sway. The clock struck the dread hour of 10 p.m., and I descended into the abyss, bracing myself for another shift of solitude and silence. The store lay eerily quiet, its aisles shrouded in an oppressive gloom that seemed to swallow the very essence of light. As the witching hour approached, I found myself ensconced in the desolate recesses of the back grocery aisle, my senses attuned to the faintest whisper of disturbance. And then it came, a sudden jarring noise from the neighboring aisle, like the echo of some unseen presence lurking in the shadows. With trepidation clawing at my soul, I ventured forth to investigate, my heart pounding in my chest. But what I found chilled me to the bone. An empty expanse of shelves, devoid of life save for the haunting echoes of my own footsteps. Yet, as I turned to retreat to the safety of my duties, a flicker of movement caught my eye, a fleeting glimpse of a figure, fleeting and insubstantial as a wisp of smoke, vanishing into the darkness beyond. I called out into the void, my voice swallowed by the abyss, but received no reply. With mounting dread, I pressed on, my steps heavy with foreboding. And then, there he was, a specter of a man, lurking in the shadows like a malevolent spirit, his presence a grotesque mockery of humanity. With trembling hands, I beckoned him forth, my words a feeble attempt to banish the darkness that threatened to engulf us both. But he remained unmoved, a silent sentinel of the night, his eyes burning with a madness that defied comprehension. Fearing for my safety, I fled to seek the aid of my superiors, but when we returned, the man had vanished without a trace, leaving behind only the lingering chill of his presence. My boss assured me that all would be dealt with, but little did we know that this was only the beginning of our descent into madness. Hours passed like eternity, the air thick with the stench of fear and uncertainty. And then, as the witching hour waned and the first light of dawn began to pierce the darkness, he returned, the phantom of my nightmares, his footsteps echoing through the empty aisles like the tolling of a funeral bell. With a cry of terror, I fled, my heart pounding in my chest as I raced through the labyrinthine corridors, the specter of the man hot on my heels. And then, salvation appeared in the form of a fellow co-worker, their presence a beacon of hope in the encroaching darkness. Together we fled, our footsteps echoing through the empty aisles as we sought refuge from the terror that pursued us. And when at last we emerged into the cold light of day, we found sanctuary in the arms of the law. The man apprehended and the nightmare finally brought to an end. But though the ordeal may be over, the memory of that night will haunt me forever, a reminder of the darkness that lurks just beyond the edge of our reality, waiting to consume us all.
I had this strange and unsettling experience after a recent shopping trip to Walmart. It was a regular afternoon, and I was doing my grocery shopping at the local Walmart, just about 10 minutes from my house. The store was bustling with activity, and I was inside for around half an hour, navigating through one of the grocery aisles, when an unusual encounter occurred. A man, approximately 5'8", with glasses and a bald head, struck up a conversation with me. It was a bit odd because he didn't seem like a Walmart employee, and strangers generally don't initiate such conversations. Despite the slightly strange vibes, we exchanged pleasantries, and he inquired about my shopping. The conversation took an unexpected turn when he asked if I was going straight home. Though a peculiar question, I casually answered affirmatively. The man then shared that he had more shopping to do and began detailing his own list. While I found it a tad awkward, I assumed he was just being friendly. Our conversation lasted only a couple of minutes, and as I headed to the self-checkout area to complete my purchase, I bid him goodbye. The self-checkout area was busy, with every other register occupied and a line forming. To my surprise, I spotted the same man in line, seemingly contradicting what he had just told me about having more shopping to do. I didn't dwell on it too much, finished checking out, and left the store. Upon reaching home about 10 minutes later, I unloaded my groceries and went about my business. However, roughly 5 minutes after getting home, I glanced out of my front window and noticed a car driving down the street. Cars passing by weren't a common sight in my quiet neighborhood, so I casually observed. To my confusion, the car turned into my driveway. As the car parked, I realized it was the same guy from Walmart. A wave of discomfort and confusion hit me. I stayed about 5 feet away from the window, watching as he got out of the car and walked up to my front door. I quickly ducked down, unsure if he saw me. He knocked on my door, but I chose not to answer, feeling increasingly creeped out. He knocked again and I stayed put, not wanting to give away my presence. After around 5 minutes of silence, I cautiously got up, only to discover he wasn't at the front door anymore. Glancing to the left, I noticed he was now at another front window, peering inside. I fled the room in response. Ready to call the police if needed, I peeked back later, and he was gone. His car had vanished from my driveway, providing a sense of relief. To this day, I haven't encountered him again, and I'm left puzzled about how he knew where I lived. It's possible he followed me home without my notice. Thankfully, he didn't attempt to break in, but the entire incident remains a bizarre and unnerving memory.
In the dead of night, as the clock struck the eerie hour of 8 p.m., I embarked on a harrowing expedition into the heart of darkness, a visit to the sprawling abyss known as Walmart. The fluorescent lights flickered ominously overhead, casting long shadows that danced menacingly along the linoleum floors. The air was heavy with a palpable sense of foreboding, as if the very walls of the store held secrets darker than the night itself. Entering the labyrinthine corridors of consumerism, I felt a chill run down my spine. The aisles stretched out before me like endless tendrils of a monstrous creature, beckoning me deeper into their depths. The silence was deafening, broken only by the distant hum of refrigeration units and the occasional echo of my own footsteps. As I made my way through the dimly lit passages, a sense of unease settled over me like a suffocating shroud. The aisles seemed to twist and warp, their contents shifting and morphing into grotesque shapes that defied comprehension. Strange symbols adorned the shelves, their meaning lost to the annals of time. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows, a dark silhouette against the flickering lights. He wore a shirt emblazoned with the cryptic words, "Human Mammal," his eyes gleaming with an otherworldly intensity. My heart quickened with fear as I passed him by, his presence lingering like a curse upon my soul. Pressing on, I reached the soap aisle, its shelves lined with an array of cleansing agents that seemed to mock me with their sterile perfection. But even amidst the mundane, there was a sense of disquiet, a feeling that I was being watched by unseen eyes. As I reached for a bottle of hand soap, a chill wind swept through the aisle, sending shivers down my spine. I turned, expecting to find the source of the disturbance, but there was nothing there save for the empty expanse of the store. Continuing on my journey, I ventured deeper into the darkness, my senses on high alert for any sign of danger. But the aceless seemed to stretch on endlessly, their twists and turns leading me further into the abyss. Then, as I rounded a corner, I stumbled upon a scene of pure chaos. The man from earlier stood amidst a pile of fallen merchandise, his eyes wild with madness as he swept his arm across the shelves, sending items crashing to the ground. His laughter echoed through the empty aisles, a chilling cacophony that sent shivers down my spine. I approached him cautiously, my heart pounding in my chest. "What are you doing?" I demanded, my voice barely above a whisper. But he paid me no mind, his gaze fixed on some unseen horizon. And then, with a flick of his wrist, he gave me the finger, a gesture of defiance that sent a cold chill coursing through my veins. Fearing for my safety, I turned and fled, my footsteps echoing through the empty corridors as I raced towards the safety of the checkout lanes. But even as I reached the relative safety of the self-service counters, I could feel his presence looming over me like a dark cloud. With trembling hands, I scanned my items and hurriedly paid, eager to escape the clutches of this unholy place. But as I made to leave, I felt a presence behind me, a shadow lurking just beyond the edge of my vision. Turning slowly, I saw him standing there, his eyes burning with a fiery intensity that seemed to pierce through to my very soul. "You can't escape," he whispered, his voice a sinister hiss that sent shivers down my spine. With a cry of fear, I turned and fled, my heart pounding in my chest as I raced towards the exit. But even as I burst through the doors and into the cool night air, I could feel his gaze burning into my back, a silent reminder of the horrors that lurked within the depths of that cursed place. And though I have long since left that accursed place behind, the memory of that night still haunts my dreams, a grim reminder of the darkness that lurks just beyond the edge of our reality.